my name is Henry Nguyen, and I'll be talking to you from my final psychology project on night terrors and sleepwalking. Now, I had night terrors and sleepwalking as a child. It didn't affect me that much, but it was an interesting topic nevertheless. So, to begin with, what is night terrors? So, night terrors, are otherwise known as sleep terrors, are an arousal from sleep that causes a immense amount of terror, fright, and has secondary response of thrashing, shaking, sweating, crying, and hyperventilation. Additionally, you're very unresponsive to stimuli during a night terror, meaning if your parents are like, Jimmy, what's wrong? You're just like, uncontrollably. And when you're finished, your parents might be like, "What happened? Wait, what caused this?" You'll be like, mm. So it's very interesting that a lot of people think they're nightmares, and I'll get into this topic more importantly later. But now we need to talk about sleepwalking because there's just a very close association. Sleepwalking is very similar to night terrors in the way that they're triggered. Stress, sleep deprivation, drug use, fevers, and disturbing noises are all factors that can cause night terrors, but they can also cause sleepwalking. And sleepwalking is merely only different from night terrors in the way that you're not freaking out and scared. You're just kind of like a zombie, like you're not even a zombie sometimes. You're just doing stuff in a sleep state where you're semi unresponsive, meaning someone can ask you a question like, "What are you doing?" You "Sandwich," or something like that. It's a very low response. So, is there a correlation between the two? They're so closely related. Wouldn't there be? Well, there is. And in a research study done by Petit and a bunch of Canadian researchers heavily funded by the Canadian Health Department and US colleges, they found that people with night terrors or children with night terrors were 34.4% more likely to develop sleepwalking. And they also found that parents with night terrors and sleepwalking were more likely to have children with night terrors and sleepwalking. Now, this indicates some kind of heritability factor if parents are having these issues and children are having these issues. So I found another study done by A. Kales and her group of researchers, and they found that they couldn't find a definitive gene, and honestly, I wasn't expecting that. But they did compare pedigrees of many families with night terrors and sleepwalking, and they found that parents with night terrors and sleepwalking commonly have children with night terrors and sleepwalking. However, the more interesting factor is that distant relatives didn't follow the strict pattern, and so they were confused. So, but eventually they found out or decided that, or hypothesized, that people with night terrors are infected by genetics, but also environmental factors. Like poverty and being poor and in a violent neighborhood can all are stressors that can lead to night terrors and sleepwalking. They also tried to find out how it's inherited, but parasomnias like night terrors and sleepwalking didn't fit well with being sex-linked, autosomal recessive, autosomal dominant, or any of the common inheritance factors. So, onto a big issue about night terrors. Dreams versus night terrors. A lot of parents think that their children are having nightmares instead of night terrors. Now, back then, people were being diagnosed for nightmares even though they had night terrors. And this was a serious issue because they were getting treatment and medication that wasn't curing their night terrors. They were just taking a bunch of medication. So, one of the major differences is timing. Night terrors and sleepwalking appear during stage 3 when your brain Three. Three. When your brain is in delta waves and has a slow performance and your eyes are pretty much shut and your muscles are kind of asleep. Well, dreams and nightmares occur during stage REM, where or rapid eye movement, where your brain is almost pretty much awake and you're memorizing and recording information and your brain is firing off these signals causing dreams. Night terrors, there's no brain function really. It's pretty much asleep there. So you don't remember anything because there was nothing to remember. And this is not really an issue, but in children that it persists, it is an issue. It's a serious issue for a children's health and development. So on to curing night terrors because we gotta find out how to cure these things. In many cases, night terrors will go away naturally after the ages of around 3.5. Petit found that children were less and less likely to have night terrors, up to dropping a good 20% at the age of 5 and 8. And same for sleepwalking. As the children get older, they're just less likely to have night terrors. However, in children that persist, it becomes a serious health issue. One, you don't want to wake up every night to children screaming like, ah! And two, when they're screaming and thrashing, they're also rolling off bed and breaking their arms, breaking their legs, and breaking their head, slamming their neck. That's a little morbid, but you know. And so those are where issues become a serious problem. Some can have it for 50 years before it goes away. So what are some curing methods? One is the altering sleep schedule, where you pretty much stay up all night, deprive yourself of sleep, and then suddenly you pass out, or you like so tired you have to go sleep. Your body stays in sleep longer and avoids night terrors because it's too tired to have a night terror. Another option is wakening schedule. Pretty much have a child go sleep and wake them up every 70 minutes. The theory behind this is that you're waking them up before they enter night terror mode. And so they wake up and they're like, oh, why you wake me up? It's like, oh, go back to sleep. Alternative methods are also psychological therapy through hypnosis and medication use with benzodiazepine. Don't use that, it's a tranquilizer. Honestly, it's not recommended, it has many side effects. Just sleep deprivation. Anyways, I had night terrors, I had sleepwalking issues. I grew up kind of fine. I hope you don't have night terrors. I hope you have a nice sleep. Here are some citations. Good night. Enjoy life. Bye.